What's up, Rockstars? There's a lot of questions around CMON's recently revealed Zombicide Marvel board game. This will be their 50th crowdfunded campaign game that they've been doing, and there's a lot to talk about, including a giant miniature. Thank you to my channel sponsor Into the AM. As a company that believes hard work and a great product is a proper way to conduct business, I am delighted to have them as part of the channel. They have some of the coolest graphic t-shirts around and an absolute best fit and feel that has continually exceeded my expectations. With new shirts arriving all the time and other products like boxers, hats, and even a monthly shirt club, I wholeheartedly recommend them to you. Check out the link in my description of this video for an exclusive 10% off everything they sell. Now, as always, a huge shout out to my patrons and YouTube members for their financial support of this channel. It is through the support of the community that I'm able to bring the independent coverage that I am. This is an expensive hobby to do things with, and I don't always play nicely with the developers if my opinion clashes with their trying to sell product. And so if you appreciate that level of honesty and that sacrifice I make so that I can give you guys my honest opinion, there's a link down below, and I greatly appreciate it. Even $1 a month helps out a ton. But if not, that's fine too. Just a like on the video letting me know that I did something that was useful for you, that this video was helpful, or that you appreciated it. Helps out a ton. Lets me know I'm doing the right thing. And with that, let's go ahead and dive into this. So this was revealed by Man vs. Meeple as well as a few others. I'll go and link down to his video, of course, because I'm showing it here. But as you can see, there's a giant Galactus. We will talk about him later because I want to talk about the game proper first. Okay, so how is this game going to be, right? So they mentioned Zombicide finally, and I have all these questions, and I'm betting you do too. If there's something that I don't ask that you're curious about, let me know in a comment below. I'll keep that in mind so that when I'm looking at information, when I'm investigating what this game is all about, when I talk to you guys about it, I know what you're interested in hearing about. So here are my questions, but I'm sure you have others as well. So let me know about those. Okay, so how will weapons work? One of the interesting things about Zombicide is that it all works the same way. And this isn't like Massive Darkness where it's like they took the core nugget of Zombicide and then made it like different to kind of match the theme they were trying to do. This is Zombicide, which means you're searching rooms for weapons and stuff like that. Now, there was recently a Square Enix game, a video game that came out for Marvel, and it has items and stuff like that too. But it's kind of silly because like you play as the Hulk, but the Hulk doesn't use items. So your items are like augmented and upgraded skeletons and stuff like it's weird, okay? It's a big stretch and nobody likes that. So I'm very curious how searching for items and equipment is going to be in this. How exactly do I play as the Hulk or the Silver Surfer and get items? That doesn't make sense to me, nonetheless, weapons and stuff like that and better versions of it and all that. Especially if you're not character specific, because some are like cosmic beings and some are mutants and some just have a lot of technology and, all that kind of stuff. So it's very kind of hard. Is everybody gonna have their own deck? I don't know. I have no idea how this is gonna work. This was my first thought was like how was that gonna I went for is Iron Man gonna use an Uzi? Now I would actually play that if I can get like the Hulk with a machine gun. That sounds awesome. I'll do that. That's cool, especially if you can use it as a melee weapon, right? But I don't know what that's gonna be. I have no idea. We're gonna have to find answers to that. Additionally, will all the villains be a zombie version of them? So you have your survivors, your heroes, right? But then it's like, okay, so are all the villains gonna be zombies? Or is it going to be that, like the typical kind of meta thing where, oh, actually they've banded together and now these people who have committed genocide and atrocities are paired up with the heroes of this version of Earth that they have, and they're going to be fighting against a common enemy so that the massive, crazy, like we're going to have Green Goblin and Spider-Man teaming up because that makes sense so that they can fight, Galactus and his people or I don't know. I have no idea what they're going to do there or how they're going to explain that or if it's going to be very believable. There are some characters like Loki, right? That you can kind of see both sides, right? And then there are just terrible people, right? That are just evil, bad guys. And so that gets a little weird, right? So anyway, I don't know what that's going to be. The Galactus that we get is not Galactus. It's Zombie Galactus. Okay. So I'll be talking about him later. I'll be showing him off later. But he has a zombie face and a zombie arm, which I'm assuming means he was bitten by a zombie, and that's actually how you defeat Galactus, is by turning him into a zombie. I don't know. That already doesn't make thematic sense. Maybe there's some virus going on. Whatever. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to do that. It's very interesting that they still kept the zombie part of it, right? Part of the reason Massive Darkness was an offshoot was because it didn't involve zombies. You're still searching and getting items and spawning enemies and stuff like that, right? There's a few other differences as well, but at its core, it was like Zombicide ++ or a Zombicide offshoot or a branch or something like that, right? Whereas, but you weren't fighting zombies, so they changed the theme. This is Zombicide, like they show the logo with Marvel, so there's gonna be zombies. Now, that brings me to another thing. Who the heck are the Abominations? Who are the Runners? Who are the Fatties? Who are Zombicide has a very specific thing, right? You're fighting zombies, and there's a zombie version of Galactus, which leads me to believe that there are zombie versions of these bad guys that we're fighting, or enemies, or whatever. And so if that's the case, who are the I don't, because you normally have more than one too, right? And so if it is that, then you have that. What I assume, and again, we'll have to find answers to that, but what I assume is that you have the villains and heroes all fighting together for the common good against a horde sent by Galactus that are generic zombie versions of enemies that like non-named enemies. So it could be something like that. I don't know though, right? Like, are we going to have like Carnage with the whole, I don't know. It just, anyway, so I have no idea what's going on there. And I definitely have questions around that. Zombicide has Abominations and Fatties and Runners and stuff like that. So what are the Marvel equivalents to that? Or is this even Zombicide? Maybe it's just Zombicide in name and it's going to be very different. I don't know. The Galactus in zombie form makes me think they're still going to be zombies. So I don't know. I don't think anybody does, but come on, and maybe we'll find out. Not sure. Okay. How will power levels be handled? So taking a step back, right? And going to the DC side of things, I'm more familiar with it. I've read more of the comics and stuff like that. And they have a very good series called Injustice. And Injustice, Superman's a bad guy, as always in all these kind of stories, right? But all of the people can still fight him because there's this pill that enhances your superpowers, makes you super strong. So at one point, Superman is like beating up Batman in his own cave, and then Alfred, his butler, his old butler, takes one of the pills and punches Superman in the face, bloodies up his nose, just knocks him down to the ground in one punch. It's a little good. It's a fantastic series. It's a lot of fun to read. A lot of people die, but that's besides the point. The point is they had to do something to up the power levels, right? Because otherwise, who the heck can stand against Superman? So when you have people like the Silver Surfer, which if you don't know his story, and especially with Galactus and working with and against him, very strong character, very cosmic strength, right? Or even Thor. The reason in the comic books Thor is not in the Civil War comic is because he would whatever side he fought on would win. He is a literal god. He's much more powerful in the comics than he is, depending on who writes them, as with all comics, than the MCU. So if we know the MCU, just imagine him being an actual literal god that can just like smite people out of existence, right? So he is very powerful, right? Same with the Hulk. It's the reason why Hulk went up, because Hulk has no limit. One of the few heroes that has no power level limit. He just gets stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger with no stop, right? So there's stuff like that. And then there's Daredevil. I love the street level stuff in Marvel, by the way. So I always preferred Spider-Man and Daredevil and that kind of stuff, right? Fighting Fisk and whatnot. Like that was always my jam. I always liked that more than the cosmic level stuff in Marvel, in the Marvel universe. But at the end of the day, they already have Silver Surfer and they got Galactus. So they are at the extreme end of power level. They are showing some of the most powerful characters in that universe that can again, cosmic level powers. but I want my Daredevil. But how are you going to have Daredevil fighting along the Silver Surfer and have it be believable that Silver Surfer missed an attack against zombie, generic zombie 1, but then Daredevil beat them? And on top of that, how the heck is the generic zombies, right? The whole point about, I don't know how you're going to make them powerful enough to make it believable that the Silver Surfer has a problem with it. Right? Cause he wouldn't, trust me, he would not. And so there's these characters that just, are so over the top that it doesn't make sense for them to be struggling or die because a few no-name zombies got a hold of them. And so I don't know how the power level is going to be among the heroes, among the survivors, among the superheroes that you're playing or supervillains or whoever the heck they give us. And then I don't know how that power level coincides with the enemies that you're fighting. So normally you're just playing dudes, right? Or chicks. So you're just playing people that are fighting zombies. And so they're about as strong as each other. But the moment they showed Silver Surfer, I was like, okay, this could be kind of interesting because that's some heavy stuff, right? And then it shows Zombicide, and I'm like, well, wait a second, how does that even, again, my brain, and maybe part of it is because I have read comics and so I know a bit more about these characters and the grandiose power level that some of them can have, but I don't know. It just seems weird. I have no idea how that's going to work. So I don't know if you guys have better thoughts than I do on how they could get that to work. But somehow they're going to have to make it work somehow. However that is. All right. I'm interjecting here real quick because I just found out about, I think, what this is all set to. So I was talking about how Galactus is like, okay, how is he a zombie? How does that work? Right. Well, there is a alternative Earth 2149 that had zombies, everything, everybody. It was actually written by Robert Kirkman and a few others that created it. And it sounds wild. Now, I will say that if it's this, it'll be interesting to see if we get two versions of each character, kind of like the Night of the Living Dead one, right? Where you get like the zombie version and the non-zombie version, or if they're just some are zombies and some aren't. I don't know. But essentially what happens and the way they power level everything is that they get the powers that they have. So they actually eat the Silver Surfer and then get his power cosmic abilities, right? So that's like how this works here. But here you can kind of see an example of it. It would be very unfortunate if this is what we got. It was all just zombie versions of the heroes, but I'm assuming you have to play as some heroes. So it'll I don't know. I still don't know how runners and all that work, but this is essentially, I think, what they're basing it off of. Because in this one, Galactus does indeed become a zombie. They stun him, and then as they stun him, they start eating him or some, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, because they have the power cosmic and stuff, so they can do stuff like that. But yeah. It's interesting, but I think this is what it's probably basing it off of. So that explains a little bit of the power level stuff, a little bit of the zombie setting, but nothing about, who's fighting who and what that is. So anyway, that's it. Just wanted to clarify. Okay, let's talk Galactus. Now, Galactus, he's really big. CMON has done this before with Death May Die and Cthulhu, correct? What I don't want to see, and what I hope they avoid, but I don't know if they will, is if they do an artificial limitation and price thing to get people to feed on their FOMO marketing style. So if you don't know, Cthulhu Death May Die, they did this thing where they lied about how expensive it was going to be and how it was going to take longer. And the reason it was lies is because they delivered all of them early, really before the game. They were done with it so quick, and they had everything. So they were like, hey, we can only have 200, right? Or it was actually 220 is where it started. Only 250 people are going to get Cthulhu. And so people put the 220 down. And then, we'll do another one. It'll be a month later, see July to August, but it'll be 225. It's $5 more. Somehow the price went up now on this, but still only 100 people. And then only 100 people are going to get the 230. And they only showed one at a time, and they didn't say anything about why they were doing it. All they said was that it was going to be expensive and they weren't going to be able to do a whole lot of them. And so get them while they can. Again, it was all just marketing lies to get people to back, because eventually they came out with a 250 version that was just open for everybody, that they could just get however much they want. And so it's it was just open. But they did it all early anyway. So hopefully they don't do something like that. If they do, Literally, like, the difference between 250 and 220 was, this one right here. Look, they made 3,341 plus all the other fake ones, all the other fake pledges, right? But the difference was 220 to 250. So yes, you're saving money if you freak out, but don't freak out too much. If they say they can only make so many of these again, if they are lying to you again, realize you're being lied to. Don't fret it. Don't take a day off work to refresh the Kickstarter campaign to net yours because nobody else will get it. You'll be fine. Okay, they can make as many of these as they want, and they can send them out very quickly, quicker than the game, because at the end of the day, it's just a mini versus a whole bunch of minis and other game components. Making games is very complex, very hard, takes a long time. We all get that. So just caution there, but I don't know how they're going to structure this. I don't know if it's going to be something like this or not. I hope not. Additionally, will Galactus be playable? So in the Cthulhu Death May Die, he actually had a version of the play that nobody plays, of course, because that you bought it to not paint or maybe to paint. But either way, you got it because it was cool and it looked cool online, and so you clicked the buy button, right? And that's fine. I mean, I'm a consumer too. We all do that. The point is that it did technically have a game mode. You could play like on top of it. There was like a little kind of rule set you could change to play on that. This is a dinky thing, a throwaway thing. Never back a game for a side mode. Always back it for the main thing. Okay, so if it has a side solo mode, don't expect the side solo to be fantastic. Or it'd be a solo game with a side co-op or something like that, right? Like back what the game's meant for, because that's where all the development time went into. But either way, they had that. Will Galactus be playable? I don't know. Looking at this, I don't see exactly how it would work, but maybe it does. I don't know. He's got some dice here. I don't know if he actually added the dice or not. I don't know that. But either way, he has a lot of like this basing stuff as well. It's not just Galactus. You can see the zombie kind of arm and face, by the way. So I don't know if he'll be playable or not, like the Death May Die. It might just be a statue. It might not. I'm not sure. Also, is this going to be on Kickstarter or GameFound? So as you might have been aware, as I kind of mentioned in a previous video, Kickstarter came out with a new rule saying that you can, if you're in good standing, which means you've delivered 4 games or 4 items in the same category, like a board game, then you're considered, and you've kept communication up and all that, then they might consider you in good standing, in which case you can have up to 3 outstanding games. If you have more than that, even in good standing, you're not allowed to make a new campaign. In other words, they don't want people spanning a bunch of campaigns. They want them making a campaign and then delivering the game that was promised and then making another one, right? And if you don't have that good standing, you can only have 1 outstanding. You can't make another one until you deliver the first one, and the second one, and the third one, and the fourth one. And then you can maybe have 2 outstanding at the same time. Maybe, if they let you. That's the rule as written. Kickstarter is famous for not enforcing the rules, for not caring, for evaluating profit that they can make over their rule set. So I don't know if they'll be able to launch this on Kickstarter. If they are, it proves that Kickstarter is full of crap, of course, as always, as they've proved time and time again, and just want money, and they'll get a ton of the cut of the millions that CMON will make on this. If they do enforce it, though, they're stuck on GameFound or introducing their own thing like a Hasbro Pulse. I don't know which they would do there. I have feelings one way or the other. First of all, I think GameFound is proving itself to be fairly reliable and fairly, worthwhile. At the same time, CMON is one of those companies that doesn't necessarily play well with others. They don't really do a lot of things. They don't, like you don't see a ton of crossovers with other companies. Like they do their own thing, right? And I've worked for bigger companies like that always do stuff in-house, and we have our own version of this. We don't want to use somebody else's version of that. So I don't know if we'll see a CMON crowdsourcing website or not, like Hasbro Pulse. That would be kind of interesting. So we will see how that works out. I don't know. Are there any other questions that you guys might have? Of course, we have basic questions like, how much is this going to cost? What's the all-in? When is it going to be delivered? When is it going to launch, right? All that other kind of stuff. I get it. And maybe you've thought of stuff that I haven't even, or have some thoughts on what you think is the answer to those questions. Either way, I would love to hear in the comments below so that we can all kind of pull together our thoughts on, okay, here's what we need to find out so that we can get that information and then spread it amongst ourselves so that we all are more informed backers. Because at the end of the day, that's the best backer you can be. Guys, thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions at all about the campaign or about my thoughts on things, feel free to let me know. Again, if this video was helpful and somehow helpful for you, There's that like button. I do appreciate it. Of course, there's that subscribe button too. If you want to see my response to this, I'm sure I'll make another video with some information. I'll probably do a details video compiling all the data I can get into one video for you guys in kind of a very concise manner, more concise than this. So be on the lookout for that, of course, as well. And with that, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. Take care, guys.